The desperate signal. The ancient cry for help. The message had been traveling through the void for 7 months, bouncing between relay stations across 3 spiral arms of the galaxy. It carried the weight of an entire civilization's desperation, encoded in the universal mathematical language that all spacefaring species understood. The transmission was simple yet heartbreaking. "We are the Kethari. Our people are dying. Please help us. We offer what little we have in exchange for salvation." Elder Zephi stood in the crystalline communication chamber deep beneath Cathara's surface, his once luminous blue skin now dulled to a sickly gray. Around him, younger Cathari worked frantically at bioorganic interfaces, their tentacle-like appendages dancing across living control surfaces that pulsed with dying light. The plague had been spreading for 3 years now, and their ancient biotechnology was failing along with their bodies. "Any responses today?" Zephi asked, though hope had long since faded from his voice. His species had lived for over 50,000 years, their civilization built on harmony with biological systems. They had never faced anything like this cosmic plague that seemed to target their very DNA. "The Vorthak Empire acknowledged our message," replied Healer Synthara, her voice barely above a whisper. "They said our genetic material holds no value for their research programs. The Galactic Trade Consortium calculated that our planet's resources wouldn't cover the cost of medical aid." She paused, her bioluminescent patches flickering weakly. "The Andromedans offered to preserve our genetic material for their archives, but only after we're extinct." Zephi's shoulders sagged beneath the weight of his people's fate. The Cathari had always been peaceful, contributing art, philosophy, and biological innovations to galactic civilization. They had never imagined that when death came calling, the galaxy would respond with such cold calculation. The Human Discovery 3. 100 light-years away, Captain Sarah Chen sat in the command center of the research vessel, Horizon's Edge, reviewing data from their latest deep space scanning mission. At 35, she had already made a name for herself in Earth's rapidly expanding space exploration program. Her dark hair was pulled back in a practical ponytail, and her brown eyes held the intensity of someone who took her responsibilities seriously. The Horizon's Edge was humanity's most advanced long-range vessel, equipped with the latest quantum communication arrays and medical facilities. Their mission was simple: map uncharted space and make contact with new civilizations. What they found instead was a cry for help that would change everything. "Captain, I'm picking up an interesting transmission," called out Communications Officer Torres from his station. "It's been repeating for months and it's definitely non-human in origin." Sarah moved to his console, studying the waveform patterns on the screen. "Can you decode it?" "Already on it. It's using the galactic standard mathematical base we learned from the Centauri delegation." Torres worked quickly, his fingers flying over the holographic interface. After several minutes, he looked up with a troubled expression. "Captain, it's a distress call. Someone out there is asking for medical assistance. They say their entire species is dying from some kind of plague." Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. In the 5 years since humanity had developed faster-than-light travel, they had encountered 17 different alien species. Most had been cautious but friendly, eager to trade knowledge and resources. The idea that an entire civilization might be facing extinction was sobering. "Dr. Webb, report to the bridge immediately," Sarah called through the ship's communication system. Within minutes, Dr. Marcus Webb arrived, his medical coat still bearing traces of his latest research project. At 42, Webb was one of Earth's leading xenobiologists, specializing in alien diseases and their potential treatments. "What's the situation, Captain?" Webb asked, quickly reviewing the decoded message on his tablet. "An alien species called the Cathari is facing extinction from what they describe as a cosmic plague. They've been broadcasting this distress call for months." Sarah gestured to the main screen, which now displayed the Cathari star system. "According to our databases, their civilization is over 50,000 years old. If they're asking for help, the situation must be desperate." Webb studied the medical data included in the transmission, his expression growing more serious by the minute. "This is fascinating and terrifying. The plague appears to target their genetic structure specifically, almost like a designed weapon. Their biotechnology is more advanced than anything we've seen, yet they can't stop it. Captain, interrupted Torres, I've been monitoring Galactic Council communications. Multiple species have received this same distress call, but none have responded with aid. The Vorthak Empire explicitly stated they won't help unless there's profit involved. Sarah felt a familiar fire building in her chest. Throughout human history, they had faced countless disasters, and the response had always been the same. Help first, ask questions later. The idea that advanced civilizations would ignore a plea for help based on profit calculations went against everything she believed in. The Earth response. Within hours, the Cathari distress call had reached Earth's Emergency Response Council. The circular chamber in Geneva was filled with representatives from every major nation, all connected via holographic link to humanity's growing network of space-based colonies and research stations. President Maria Santos stood at the central podium, her voice carrying the weight of humanity's first major interstellar crisis. Ladies and gentlemen, we face a decision that will define who we are as a species in the galactic community. An ancient civilization is dying, and we have the opportunity to help. Defense Minister Jackson raised his hand. Madam President, our xenobiology teams have reviewed the medical data. This plague is unlike anything in our databases. We have no guarantee that our intervention would be successful. And if we fail? Asked Dr. Elizabeth Reyes, Earth's chief medical officer. We could risk exposure to an unknown pathogen that might threaten our own species. President Santos nodded, acknowledging the concerns. Dr. Webb has volunteered to lead a medical mission to the Cathari homeworld. His team believes that Earth's biological diversity might hold keys to understanding this plague. Our biosphere has produced solutions to countless diseases through evolution and adaptation. Ambassador Lisa Park, humanity's representative to the Galactic Council, stood up. Madam President, I must inform you that the Galactic Council has explicitly advised against intervention. They cite the prime directive of non-interference in natural evolutionary processes. The chamber fell silent as President Santos considered this information. Finally, she spoke, her voice clear and determined. The Galactic Council can cite whatever directives they want. A civilization is dying, and they've asked for help. That's all I need to know. Dr. Webb, prepare your medical team. Captain Chen, ready the Horizon's Edge for immediate departure. What about the other species, Madam President? Asked Admiral Thompson via hologram from the lunar base. If they've all refused to help, they might not appreciate our interference. Santos's expression hardened. Admiral, humanity has never been known for backing down when someone's life is at stake. If that makes us different from other species, then I'm proud of that difference. The fleet departs 3 days later. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the Horizon's Edge, now accompanied by 2 additional vessels. The medical ship Hippocrates and the escort vessel Guardian. The small fleet represented humanity's first major humanitarian mission beyond their own solar system. Dr. Webb had assembled a team of 23 medical researchers, each specializing in different aspects of disease treatment and biological adaptation. They carried with them samples from Earth's most diverse ecosystems, hoping that somewhere in the genetic diversity of their home world lay the key to saving the Cathari. Captain, we're receiving final clearance from Earth Command, reported Torres. All 3 ships report ready for departure. Sarah looked around the bridge at her crew. Most of them had never traveled beyond the outer planets of the solar system, yet here they were, preparing to journey across the galaxy to help complete strangers. It was moments like these that made her proud to be human. Dr. Webb, are your medical teams prepared? She asked through the communication link to the Hippocrates. As ready as we can be, Captain. We've run every simulation possible, but honestly, we're walking into the unknown. The Cathari's biological makeup is unlike anything we've encountered. Ambassador, Park's voice came through from her station. Captain, I've prepared first contact protocols based on the cultural information the Cathari included in their transmissions. They appear to be a peaceful species with a deep respect for biological harmony. Sarah nodded, then addressed the entire fleet. All hands, this is Captain Chen. Today we embark on a mission that will define humanity's place in the galactic community. We go not for profit, not for territory, but because someone asked for help, and that's reason enough. Let's show the galaxy what humans do when people are in trouble. As the three ships engaged their faster-than-light drives, Sarah thought about the message that had started it all. Somewhere across the galaxy, an ancient species was counting down their final days, unaware that help was finally coming. The Cathari had sent their plea into the void, not knowing that one species in all the galaxy still believed that saving lives was more important than calculating profit. The journey would take 8 days at maximum FTL speed, 8 days to prepare for humanity's first major test as members of the galactic community. 8 days to prove that some things transcended species, culture, and the cold mathematics of interstellar politics. Sometimes all it took was someone willing to answer when help was needed. As the stars streaked past the viewports, Sarah Chen smiled slightly. The Cathari were about to discover that humans had a very different way of responding to distress calls than the rest of the galaxy. They were about to learn that some species still believed in doing the right thing, regardless of the consequences. The human way arrival at a dying world. The Cathari homeworld of Cathara hung before them like a jewel slowly losing its luster. What should have been a vibrant blue-green planet was now mottled with gray patches, and the bioluminescent aurora that once danced around its poles had dimmed to barely visible flickers. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the horizons edge, watching her first officer's expression grow more somber as the sensor readings came in. "Captain, I'm detecting massive die-offs in their biocities," reported Commander Jackson, his voice tight with concern. "The plague appears to be accelerating. Population readings suggest they've lost nearly 40% of their people in just the past 6 months." Dr. Webb's voice crackled through the communication link from the Hippocrates. "The biological readings are worse than we anticipated. Their entire ecosystem is failing. The plague isn't just affecting the Cathari themselves. It's destroying the living technology their civilization depends on." Sarah activated the long-range communication array. "Cathari Central Command. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the United Earth Alliance vessel Horizon's Edge. We received your distress call and have come to offer medical assistance. Please respond." The silence stretched for several long minutes, before a weak signal came through, translated by the ship's universal language matrix. "Human vessel. We did not expect anyone to answer. I am Elder HFY. Are you truly here to help us?" The raw hope and disbelief in the alien's voice hit Sarah like a physical blow. "Elder HFY, we are here to help. We've brought our best medical teams and research equipment. Request permission to establish orbit and send down medical personnel." "Permission granted, Captain Chen, but I must warn you, we have nothing left to offer in payment. Our civilization is dying." Sarah exchanged glances with her officers. "Elder, we didn't come here for payment. We came because you needed help. That's enough for us." The silence that followed was longer this time, and when HFY's voice returned, it carried a tremor of something that might have been wonder. In 50,000 years of galactic contact, no species has ever said those words to us. The Galactic Council intervenes as the human fleet established orbit around Cathara. Their presence hadn't gone unnoticed. The massive dreadnought Supreme Authority dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the system, its hull bearing the insignia of the Galactic Council. Within minutes, Sarah's communication board lit up with an incoming priority transmission. The face that appeared on the main screen was distinctly reptilian, with scales that shifted color based on emotion. High Counselor Vextar of the Draconian Hegemony was known throughout the galaxy for his strict enforcement of council regulations. His vertical pupils contracted as he focused on Sarah. "Human Captain, I am High Counselor Vextar. You are operating in violation of Galactic Council Directive 847C, which prohibits intervention in natural evolutionary processes. You will withdraw your vessels immediately." Sarah straightened in her command chair. "High Counselor, with respect, we're conducting a humanitarian mission at the direct request of the Cathari government. We're not violating any laws. Vexitar's scales darkened to a deep purple, indicating anger. The Cathari plague is a natural phenomenon. Species that cannot adapt to such challenges are not meant to survive. This is the way of galactic evolution. That's not the way of human evolution, Sarah replied firmly. We believe in helping those who need it, regardless of the circumstances. Ambassador Park stepped forward, activating her diplomatic protocols. High Counselor, may I remind you that Earth is not yet a full member of the Galactic Council. We are not bound by directives we had no voice in creating. Vexitar's expression grew more menacing. Your species is young and naive. You do not understand the delicate balance of galactic civilization. Interference in natural selection has led to the downfall of countless species. Dr. Webb's voice came through the ship's intercom. Captain, we need to get to the surface immediately. I'm detecting massive biological failures in their largest population center. If we don't act soon, we'll lose any chance of finding a cure. Sarah nodded to Webb, then turned back to Vexitar. High Counselor, you can cite whatever directives you want. I have a job to do. She gestured to Torres to cut the transmission. Vexitar's final words echoed through the bridge. This conversation is not over, human. The cure in Earth's diversity. The surface of Cathera exceeded their worst fears. The bio-cities that had once been marvels of living architecture were now collapsing, their organic structures browning and crumbling as the plague ate through their genetic foundations. Cathari citizens moved through the dying streets like ghosts, their once vibrant skin dull and gray, many wearing biomechanical breathing apparatus just to survive. Dr. Webb's medical team worked frantically in the hastily established field hospital, a sterile dome that contrasted sharply with the organic curves of Cathari architecture. Elder HFY had provided them with detailed genetic samples and medical histories, but the plague seemed to defy every conventional treatment approach. Dr. Webb called out microbiologist Dr. Sarah Kim, her voice tight with frustration. I've tried every antiviral and antibiotic compound in our database. This thing adapts faster than we can develop countermeasures. Webb studied the holographic displays showing the plague's molecular structure. It's almost like it was designed specifically to target Cathari DNA. But look at this pattern here. He pointed to a specific sequence. It's similar to a viral infection we encountered in the Amazon rainforest, but with modifications that make it lethal to their specific genetic markers. Dr. Chen Lin, the team's genetic therapist, looked up from her microscope. Dr. Webb, what if we're approaching this backwards? Instead of trying to kill the plague, what if we help the Cathari adapt to it? Explain. Earth's ecosystem has produced countless examples of symbiotic relationships. What if this plague was meant to be symbiotic, but something went wrong in the integration process? Lin brought up a comparison chart. Look at these genetic markers. They're almost identical to beneficial bacteria that live in human digestive systems. Webb's eyes widened as he began to understand. You're suggesting the plague isn't actually a plague at all? I'm suggesting it's a failed symbiosis. Something that was supposed to enhance Cathari biology, but instead became destructive because of a missing element. Lin gestured to the samples from Earth they had brought. We need to find what Earth organisms use to make similar relationships beneficial. For the next 18 hours, the medical team worked without rest, testing compounds from Earth's most diverse ecosystems. They tried everything from deep-sea bacteria to rainforest fungi, looking for the missing piece that would transform the plague from destroyer to partner. It was Dr. Kim who made the breakthrough, working with samples from extremophile bacteria, found in Earth's thermal vents. Dr. Webb, I think I found it. This enzyme sequence from the thermal vent bacteria creates a bridge between the foreign organism and the host DNA. If we can synthesize it and introduce it to the Cathari system, it could turn the plague into what it was originally meant to be, Webb finished, his voice filled with excitement and hope. The first success. The first test subject was a young Cathari named Pithara, barely past their equivalent of adolescence. Their parents had volunteered them for the experimental treatment, knowing that without it, death was certain within days. The modified enzyme therapy was administered through the Cathari's natural bioports, organic interfaces that connected them to their living technology. For 6 hours, nothing happened. Then, gradually, Cathara's skin began to show the first hints of returning color. The gray patches that marked plague infections started to brighten, taking on new hues that were different from the original Cathari blue-green, but vibrant with life. "The genetic markers are stabilizing," reported Dr. Kim, monitoring the bio-readings with equipment adapted to Cathari physiology. "Not only is the plague stopped, but it's actually enhancing their cellular regeneration capabilities." Elder HFY watched in amazement as the young Cathari sat up for the first time in weeks, their bioluminescent patches glowing brighter than they had before the plague. "This is impossible," he whispered. "We have been trying to kill the plague for 3 years. You have made it serve us instead." Dr. Webb smiled, exhaustion and triumph mixing in his expression. Sometimes the best solution isn't to fight the problem, but to understand what it was trying to accomplish in the first place. Word of the successful treatment spread quickly through the dying bio-cities. Within hours, lines of Cathari had formed, outside the human medical stations, many too weak to stand but supported by family members who had heard rumors of a cure. The human medical teams worked around the clock, producing and administering the enzyme therapy to thousands of desperate patients. The galaxy takes notice as news of the human success spread beyond Cathara. The galactic community began to take notice. Species that had dismissed the Cathari distress call with cold calculations were now watching with growing interest as humanity accomplished what their advanced civilizations had deemed impossible. High Counselor Vextar stood in the command center of the Supreme Authority, studying reports from his observers on Cathara's surface. His scales shifted through various colors as he processed the information, finally settling on a confused orange pattern. "Admiral Kretak," he called to his second-in-command, "explain to me how a species that has been spacefaring for less than a decade succeeded where civilizations with millions of years of advancement failed." The smaller Draconian reviewed the data carefully. "Sir, our analysis suggests that the humans approach the problem differently. Instead of treating it as a plague to be eliminated, they treated it as a relationship to be fixed." "And their success rate?" 97%, sir. They're not just curing the plague, they're making the Cathari stronger than they were before. The symbiotic organism is enhancing their natural abilities while providing immunity to similar pathogens. Vextar's scales darkened as he considered the implications. The Galactic Council's entire philosophy was based on the principle that advanced species had transcended the need for such primitive concepts as altruism and unconditional aid. Yet here was proof that such primitive thinking could achieve results that cold logic could not. The Compassion Coalition. 3 months after the arrival of the human fleet, Cathara was transformed. The bio-cities were not only restored, but were growing in new and beautiful ways, incorporating the symbiotic organisms into architectural forms that had never been seen before. The Cathari themselves were healthier and stronger than they had been in generations, their enhanced biology allowing them to explore new frontiers of their living technology. Elder HFY stood with Captain Chen on the observation deck of the Horizon's Edge, looking down at their transformed world. His skin now showed the new patterns that marked successful symbiosis, swirling designs of silver and gold that pulsed with inner light. "Captain Chen, my people will remember this gift for all the millennia to come. But I must ask, why did your species do this? What do you gain from our survival?" Sarah considered the question, watching the lights of the restored bio-cities twinkle like stars below. "Elder, my species has a saying, we rise by lifting others. We don't help because we expect something in return. We help because it's the right thing to do." HFY's bioluminescent patches flared with emotion. "In our 50,000 years, we have never encountered such a philosophy among spacefaring species. You have shown us that the galaxy can be different than we believed." The conversation was interrupted by an incoming transmission. Ambassador Park appeared on the communication screen, her expression mixing excitement with concern. "Captain, I'm receiving diplomatic inquiries from 17 different species. They all want to know more about human medical techniques and our approach to interspecies relations." "That's good news, isn't it?" Sarah asked. "Some of it, yes. The Altarian Republic and the Centauri Federation are both requesting formal alliances. But Captain, the Galactic Council is calling an emergency session. They're classifying our actions as dangerous precedent-setting and want to discuss containment measures. Sarah and HFY exchanged glances. Containment measures? Sarah asked. Park nodded grimly. They're concerned that other species might start expecting humanitarian aid instead of accepting natural selection. They see human compassion as a threat to galactic stability. Elder HFY's new patterns flared brighter. Captain, if the Council moves against humanity, the Kethari will stand with you. We will not forget who answered our call when the galaxy turned away. Over the following weeks, something unprecedented began to happen. Species that had been ignored by the major galactic powers started reaching out to Earth, sharing their own stories of distress calls that went unanswered and requests for aid that were denied based on profit calculations. The human approach was spreading like a virus of hope throughout the galaxy's forgotten corners. The Altarian Republic, despite being a major power, formally withdrew from the Galactic Council and established the Compassion Coalition with Earth and Kethera as founding members. Their statement was simple: we choose to stand with species that measure value by life saved, not profit gained. The new paradigm as Captain Sarah Chen prepared to return to Earth, she knew that humanity had crossed a line that could never be uncrossed. They had shown the galaxy that there was another way to approach interspecies relations, and that knowledge was spreading beyond their ability to control or contain. High Counselor Vexitar made one final attempt to reason with the humans, meeting with Ambassador Park on a neutral station. Ambassador, your species doesn't understand what you've unleashed. If every species expects aid whenever they face challenges, the galaxy will fall into chaos. Park smiled, her expression calm but determined. High Counselor, with respect, I think you're wrong. What we've unleashed is hope. The Kethari are now contributing medical advances that are helping 6 other species overcome their own challenges. The Altarians are sharing technology freely instead of selling it. The chaos you fear looks a lot like cooperation to us. Vextar's scales shifted through confused patterns. But the established order was built on leaving people to die when they could have been saved, Park interrupted. If that's order, then maybe a little chaos is exactly what the galaxy needs. The Kethari's biocities now glowed brighter than ever, and their enhanced communications technology was carrying a new kind of message across the galaxy. Not distress calls, but offers of aid. They had learned the human way, and they were teaching it to others. Elder HFY watched the human ships disappear into hyperspace, then turned to his communication arrays. There were others out there who needed help, others whose calls for aid were being ignored by the established powers. The Kethari had been saved by humans who believed that some things transcended politics and profit. Now it was their turn to answer when the stars called for help.